Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're going to be tackling a topic that is deeply personal and also universally mysterious.
Ooh.
Consciousness. You sent in some material exploring this, and
Yes.
I have to admit, it sparked quite a few, wait, what, moments for me.
It is a fascinating area, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
we all experience consciousness, this feeling of awareness,
Right.
but pinning down exactly what it is,
Yeah.
where it comes from, that's a challenge that has kept philosophers and scientists busy for centuries.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know it's connected to our brains somehow.
Right.
This source goes beyond the usual neurons firing explanation. It suggests that our brains actually build a kind of object model of reality.
That's right. The source presents a really intriguing framework for how consciousness develops.
Okay.
And it starts with this idea that nature itself doesn't make distinctions. Everything just exists as a unified whole.
Okay.
But as life evolves, distinctions start to emerge.
So our human brains evolving within everything is one kind of reality start imposing order and categories on the world.
Just exactly.
It's like we're creating our own user manual for the universe.
Exactly. And that user manual is what the source refers to as the object model. It's our brain's way of representing both the physical world, like trees, mountains, the smell of coffee, and abstract concepts like love, justice, or even the idea of consciousness itself.
Wow. Okay. So that object model is constantly evolving, right?
Yes.
Like right now, your brain is adding to its understanding of this very concept as we're talking about it.
Precisely. It's a dynamic system,
Yeah.
constantly being shaped by our experiences, perceptions, and even our conversations like this one.
Okay.
And here's where things get really interesting. The source proposes that within this complex software of our minds, there's a special component called a monitor object.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this monitor object.
Okay.
It sounds almost like a little character inside our heads.
You could think of it that way. The source describes it as a kind of observer, a part of our mental software that's constantly monitoring the show of our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. And it's this monitor object, according to the source, that gives rise to the feeling of being conscious.
So it's like having a tiny commentator in our brains narrating our every experience. Ah, yes, there's that feeling of confusion again as we try to understand this concept. And now a surge of excitement as we uncover a new insight.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Okay.
And just like our object model is constantly evolving,
Yeah.
so too is this monitor object.
Right.
It's learning, adapting, and refining its understanding of the world alongside us.
This is already making me think about the nature of reality in a whole new way.
Yes.
If our brains are constructing this model of the world, and we have this monitor object observing it all, where does that leave the idea of free will?
Right.
I mean, if our brains are essentially machines running on physical laws, do we really have any choice in how we think or act?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that this source tackles head-on,
Okay.
actually arguing that we do have free will.
That's pretty bold.
It is.
Most people assume that if the universe operates on physical laws,
Right.
then everything must be predetermined.
Right. But the source challenges that assumption by pointing out that even the laws of physics as we understand them
Yeah.
are based on our interpretations of reality. Nature itself, remember, doesn't make those distinctions.
Right.
We impose order and meaning onto a universe that, at its core, is a unified whole.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going.
Okay.
So if the rules are actually just our interpretations,
Yes.
that opens up the possibility for us to have more agency than we might think.
Exactly. The source suggests that because our thoughts are part of how we interact with reality,
Okay.
and we can choose what to think about,
Right.
we therefore have the freedom to make choices.
But wouldn't that contradict the idea of a deterministic universe where everything is predetermined?
Okay.
How can our thoughts have a real impact if everything is already set in motion?
That's where the source makes a subtle but important distinction.
Okay.
It's not that our thoughts are somehow magically overriding physical laws, but rather that our thoughts and choices are themselves woven into the fabric of reality.
Okay.
They're part of the equation, so to speak.
So it's less about defying the laws of physics and more about understanding that our minds, with their ability to choose and interpret,
Yes.
are themselves playing a role in how those laws manifest.
Precisely. And that's where things get really exciting.
Okay.
Because if our interpretations are shaping our reality,
Yeah.
then changing those interpretations could have a real impact on our experience of the world.
That raises a profound question. If our interpretations are so powerful,
Yes.
how do we know which ones are true or accurate?
Right.
It seems like we could just make up any interpretation we want and call it reality.
That's a crucial point. And the source acknowledges that there's no ultimate objective truth when it comes to our interpretations.
So it's less about finding the right interpretation and more about finding interpretations that work for us,
Yes.
that align with our values and goals.
Exactly. It's about using our free will to choose interpretations that empower us,
Yeah.
that help us grow and thrive. But this brings up another question.
Okay.
If our interpretations are so powerful, how do we know which ones are useful and which ones might be harmful?
Right.
We could end up believing things that aren't true or making choices that lead to negative consequences.
That's a really good point. It seems like there's a responsibility that comes with this power
Yes.
to shape our reality through our interpretations.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful of the stories we tell ourselves and the beliefs we choose to embrace.
Absolutely. And that's something we'll explore further as we delve deeper into the implications of this idea.
Okay.
Because if our thoughts can shape reality, then understanding how to wield that power responsibly becomes incredibly important.
This is already getting me thinking about my own life, about the stories I tell myself,
Yeah.
the beliefs I hold, and how they might be shaping my experiences. It's both empowering and a bit daunting, isn't it?
It is. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to unpack here.
Okay.
Especially when we consider the implications of this for our understanding of things like morality, responsibility, and even the potential for artificial intelligence.
Well, I'm officially hooked. Let's dive deeper into this rabbit hole and see where it leads.
Yes, let's do that. So we've been exploring this idea that our interpretations of reality are more than just passive reflections.
Right.
They actually have the power to shape our experience of the world.
It's a concept that's both fascinating and a bit unsettling, isn't it?
It is.
It suggests that we're not just observing reality,
Right.
but actively participating in its creation.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're all artists, constantly painting the canvas of our lives with the colors of our perceptions and beliefs.
But if our interpretations are so powerful,
Yeah.
how do we navigate that responsibility? I mean, we could accidentally paint a pretty bleak picture if we're not careful.
That's where things get really interesting because it challenges us to become more conscious and deliberate about the interpretations we choose.
Okay.
The source actually uses the analogy of a map to illustrate this point.
Okay, I love a good analogy. Tell me more.
Okay. The source suggests that our object model, that mental map we create of reality, is a bit like a map of a city.
So we have all these different landmarks in our minds representing our understanding of the world, our beliefs or values.
Exactly. And just like a map, our object model can be incredibly useful for navigating the complexities of life.
Right.
But the source points out that no map is ever perfectly accurate.
That's right. A map is just a representation of the territory, not the territory itself.
Yeah. Precisely. And that's where the potential for both power and pitfalls arises.
Yeah.
If we cling too rigidly to our mental maps, we might miss out on important details or even get lost altogether.
So it's not about throwing away our maps,
Right.
but rather about using them as tools while recognizing their limitations.
Exactly. It's about being willing to update our maps, to redraw the lines when we encounter new information or experience a shift in perspective.
This is making me think about those times when I've been stuck in a negative thought pattern, like a mental rut. It's like my map was leading me in circles.
Yes.
But I was so focused on following the same old route that I didn't even realize there were other paths available.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And it highlights the importance of becoming aware of our own interpretations,
Yeah.
of questioning the stories we're telling ourselves, and being open to revising our mental maps when they're no longer serving us.
But how do we know when our maps need updating?
Right.
What are some signs that our interpretations might be leading us astray?
That's a great question. And the source offers a few clues.
Okay.
One is to pay attention to your emotional state.
So if we're constantly feeling anxious, stressed, or unhappy,
Yes.
it might be a sign that our interpretations are creating more problems than they're solving.
Exactly. Our emotions are like feedback mechanisms, letting us know whether our current interpretations are aligned with our well-being.
That makes sense. It's like if we're feeling lost or frustrated,
Yes.
it might be time to pull out a new map to try a different perspective.
Precisely. And another clue the source offers is to pay attention to your relationships.
Okay.
Are your interpretations creating connection and harmony, or are they leading to conflict and disharmony?
So if we're constantly bumping heads with people, it might be a sign that our interpretations are creating more division than understanding.
Exactly. Our relationships are like mirrors reflecting back to us the impact of our interpretations on the world around us.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
It's like we can use our relationships as barometers.
Yes.
Helping us to gauge whether our interpretations are leading to more loving connection or more conflict and separation.
Yeah, precisely. And this brings us to another important point the source makes, which is that our interpretations don't just impact our individual experiences.
Okay.
They also shape our collective reality.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Are you saying that my personal interpretations can actually influence the world around me?
Yes.
That seems like a pretty big leap.
I know it sounds radical.
Yeah.
But think about it this way. Our interpretations shape our beliefs, our values, our actions.
Okay.
And our actions, collectively, have a real impact on the world.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So if a lot of people are holding on to negative or fearful interpretations,
Right.
that could actually contribute to a more negative and fearful world.
Exactly. And the reverse is also true.
What?
If we can cultivate more positive,
Yeah.
compassionate, and understanding interpretations,
Right.
it can create a ripple effect, contributing to a more harmonious and flourishing world.
This is starting to make me think about the power of stories, the narratives we tell ourselves and each other about the world. If those stories are shaping our reality,
Yes.
then it becomes really important to choose stories that uplift and inspire,
Exactly.
rather than stories that create fear and division.
That's a brilliant insight. The source doesn't explicitly talk about stories, but I think it's a perfect extension of this concept. The stories we embrace have the power to shape our perceptions,
Right.
our beliefs, and ultimately our actions.
It's like we're all characters in a grand cosmic play.
Yes.
And we have the power to choose the roles we play, the stories we tell, and the ending we create.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it underscores the importance of becoming conscious storytellers.
Yeah.
Of choosing narratives that align with the world we want to create.
This is pretty mind-shifting stuff.
It is.
It suggests that we're not just passive recipients of reality,
Right.
but active participants in its unfolding. But it also raises a lot of questions. If our interpretations are so powerful,
Yeah.
how do we develop more skillful ones? How do we become more discerning about the stories we choose to believe?
Those are excellent questions, and ones that we'll explore further as we continue this deep dive.
Okay.
Because understanding how to wield the power of our interpretations is essential for creating a more fulfilling and meaningful experience for ourselves and for the world.
Well, I'm officially on board for this journey of exploration. Let's keep diving deeper and see what other insights we can uncover about this fascinating connection between our minds and reality. We've been on quite a journey exploring this idea that our thoughts and interpretations actually have the power to shape our reality.
Right.
It makes you wonder about the limits of this, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, how far does this rabbit hole go?
It certainly does. And, this source you provided even touches upon one of the most mind-boggling frontiers in this whole discussion.
Okay.
Artificial intelligence.
Ah, yes, the rise of the machines, I have to admit. Every time I hear about AI getting smarter,
Yeah.
I get a little nervous.
Yeah.
Are we on the verge of creating something that could rival human consciousness?
That's a question that's been capturing imaginations for decades, hasn't it? And this source delves into some fascinating nuances on that front.
Okay.
It suggests that while AI has made incredible strides in mimicking human intelligence,
Right.
there might be some inherent limitations to how far it can go.
So you're saying our fears of robot overlords might be a bit premature?
Well, the source makes a distinction between intelligence and consciousness.
Okay.
AI is already demonstrating remarkable abilities in problem solving, learning, even creativity in some cases.
Right.
But consciousness, that subjective experience of awareness, might be a different ballgame altogether.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
A computer can beat a grandmaster at chess.
Right.
But does it actually experience the thrill of victory?
Mm-hmm.
The agony of defeat? Does it feel the weight of each move, the strategic tension.
Exactly. The source highlights that computers, as we currently understand them, operate on a fundamentally different principle than biological brains.
Okay.
They're essentially discrete calculators, as the source calls them, moving from one state to another based on external instructions.
So they're incredibly good at following rules and processing information.
Yes.
But maybe not so good at the whole subjective inner world aspect of consciousness.
That's the argument the source puts forward.
Okay.
It suggests that for a computer to achieve true consciousness, it would need to develop something akin to that monitor object we discussed earlier.
Right.
That internal observer that's constantly reflecting on its own thoughts and experiences.
So while AI might be able to simulate human behavior in increasingly sophisticated ways, there might be a fundamental spark missing. Something that can't be replicated through algorithms and data processing alone.
That's the question the source poses. And it makes me think about how much we still don't understand about the nature of consciousness itself.
Right.
We're only just beginning to unravel the complexities of how our own brains give rise to this sense of self-awareness, this feeling of being.
It's almost like we're trying to build a skyscraper without fully understanding the principles of architecture.
Yes.
We can stack things up pretty high, but will it stand the test of time?
Right.
Will it truly capture the essence of what we're trying to create?
That's a great analogy. And it highlights the need for humility as we venture further into the realm of AI. We need to be mindful of the ethical implications to ensure that we're creating technology that enhances human life, rather than replacing or diminishing it.
You know, this whole conversation has really shifted my perspective. I came into this thinking about consciousness as something that's just in here, inside our heads.
Right.
But now I'm seeing it as something much more expansive.
Yes.
Something that's intertwined with our interpretations, our choices, even our relationship with technology.
It's a humbling realization, isn't it? It suggests that consciousness isn't just a passive state of being, but an active force that's shaping the world around us.
Right.
And that's incredibly empowering, but also a huge responsibility.
It's like we're all holding these delicate paintbrushes.
Yes.
Constantly adding our strokes to the grand canvas of reality.
Exactly.
We need to be mindful of the colors we choose, the images we create, because they're not just for us.
Right.
They're for everyone.
That's beautifully put, and it speaks to the heart of what this deep dive has been all about.
Yeah.
Recognizing the power of our minds, the impact of our interpretations, and the responsibility that comes with shaping a reality that reflects our highest values and aspirations.
I have to say, this has been one of the most thought-provoking deep dives I've ever experienced.
Yes.
It's not just given me new information.
Right.
It's given me a new framework for understanding my place in the world.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you. And to our listeners, we hope this conversation has sparked some near insights, some fresh perspectives, and perhaps even a renewed sense of wonder about the mysteries of the human mind.
Right.
And its role in shaping the world we all share.
And remember, the exploration doesn't end here. Keep questioning.
Yes.
Keep learning and keep diving deeper into the vast and fascinating world of consciousness.
Absolutely.
Until next time, fellow deep divers.